Modern Midas. The scene is set with a tavern, rustic and mid-level. A band of bards play off in the corner. Kegs of ale are lined up behind the bar. The company there is bustling and laughing and having a great time. A big man with his posse comes in, sits down at the bar, slamming the countertop. Bartender, get me and the guys haven't had a good day. Get us something good or it'll be the last drink you serve, growled out in a menacing voice. Hold your horses there, mister. Think I have the thing for you, the bartender replied. He would reach under the bar into a mini fridge, and he would pull out a shining gold can onto the bar. Safa-Cola! The gang cheered as they began drinking. Safa-Cola, the new taste on the block. All the cool kids are drinking it, made with mostly natural ingredients. Safa-Cola is not liable for disease, injury, or death brought by drinking Safa-Cola. Safa-Cola, the gold standard. The crowd begins to clap as they see the new advertisement on the large screen. The place was grand, packed, and gilded to high heavens. The product expo had gone great that year. A bigger than average turnout as the founder of Sapphic Cola was presenting. Sapphics Thornwhip. The lights dimmed again as floodlights focused on Sapphics, who bowed. Thank you, thank you. You are all too kind. He looked out to the crowd, smirking. Sapphics would stand up straight, fixing his tie and collar. Now we know your plights at Safa-Cola. It's a sugary drink, and too much can be bad. Of course, we aren't here to judge you if you don't drink soda. Some people can't handle change. The crowd would give a laugh at Sapphics' joke. Sapphics held up a hand to pause the laugh. Thank you. I rehearsed that one in the mirror. So we at Safa-Cola have created the solution to the sugar problem. Sapphic stepped aside, letting a large pedestal rise from the stage floor. On the pedestal was a massive prop Sapphicola. Sapphic would take his staff and touch the crystal to the can. The swift magic transformed the letters on the can to read Sapphicola, Fool's Gold. The crowd chapped and clapped again as Sapphic bowed. Sapphicola, Fool's Gold, the same great taste but healthier, coming to a tavern near you. The crowd erupted in cheers as Sapphics gave one final bow and left the stage. When Sapphics left the stage, news anchors began to swarm him. He tried to brush them off, but they stayed around him. Sapphics, why the name Fool's Gold? Because the original had changed slightly to distribute to more people. Sapphics, are there any artificial sweeteners in Fool's Gold that may cause health concerns? Not at all. It's all natural ingredients, all the time. Sapphics, is it true you used to be a druid? One reporter asks, thrusting a microphone to Sapphics. He was stunned for a second, quickly turning cold. No comment, he said, before getting into his carriage and being driven away. It was most silent, as Sapphics' driver was told not to speak to Sapphics unless spoken to. Sapphics tried to shake off the question of his druidic past, but it was to no avail, mainly because it was true. Sapphics did used to be a druid, but he left that life far behind when he found his staff, and more accurately, his stone. It looked like any normal crystal to any onlooker, but one bad interaction with it and you could be turned to gold. Only people with great connections to nature could withstand and comprehend the ways. Fortunately, the team that discovered the stone had Sapphics on it, yet younger, brighter Sapphics. He took the stone to keep it safe from anyone who would use it for evil. Yet, as the years went on and the team disbanded, Sapphics began to feel the tug of the stone. He turned some rocks into gold and sold them, making a fortune off them. With that, he funded a drink business and using his nature knowledge to create a delicious cola flavor. Day by day, he became more corrupt, making him a shrewd businessman. Sapphics was snapped out of his spiral by the carriage suddenly stopping. He had arrived. Sapphics waited for the door to open as he stepped out of his vehicle, observing what was in front of him. The main Safa-Cola factory, where everything was manufactured, held up by magic. He entered, remembering he had a meeting with the factory manager today. Sapphics traversed the sprawling steel jungle of conveyors and walkways, accompanied by Goliath and orc bodyguards. Eventually, he got to the manager's office, stepped inside, having bodyguards keep watch. Sapphics! A tabaxi shouted, holding out a hand, which Sapphics shook. Great for you, Eli. How is production? Sapphics would reply, a wide smile by his inquiry. He looked out at the factory, seeing large machinery and mixing vats. Production is great. That new fool's gold drink you've got is already flying off the shelves already. What's even in those again? Well, to replace the small high of the sugar gives you, we put a kick of caffeine in the mix. Called it good. Natural sweetness? Well, sugar is natural, so we just put in less. Ah, Sapphics, you're crazy. Eli slapped Sapphics back. They had a laugh and went over sales and safety procedures till the day was fleeting. Eli walked Sapphics back out of the factory to his carriage to chat some more. This time, less about business related things. When they got out, Eli waved Sapphics off as the carriage rode down the road. Sapphics, after facing the rather bumpy path, pulled into a massive estate. It's a well known fact by all the citizens of the kingdom he's in that Sapphics is wealthier than the king, yet doesn't take the responsibility of a king. Sapphics stepped out of his carriage as the chauffeur brought the carriage around to the stables. Sapphics was met by servants who took his coat and belongings, yet they dare not touch his staff. A glimmering golden statue in the center of the foyer stands as a reminder of the last servant who tried to take his staff. Sapphics would walk through the manor, prepare me a coffee, 2 sugars, and a cream, as he gave his demands to someone, bring me my robe and prepare a bath. Servants were happy to comply, and somebody start making dinner. A steak would be nice, as he paid them generously. Yes, sir, all servants replied to his demands. Sapphics made it to the bathroom, where his bath was prepared. As to his demands, he quickly disrobed and sunk into the bath. Sighing as he felt the soothing atmosphere, somebody came in and brought him a serving tray laid across the edges of the bath. His coffee and dinner. He thanked the servant and picked up his fork and knife. A piece was cut of his perfectly done steak. Sapphics closed his eyes and took a bite. A shimmering sound, followed by a silent scream, was heard while Sapphics was distracted. He opened his eyes, not hastily, to see a new golden statue attempting to take the crystal from his staff. He had another reminder. Sapphics would think to himself as he took a sip of his coffee. He eventually finished, setting aside the tray and stepping out of the bath. He grabbed his robe, wrapping it around himself, and stepped out of the bathroom. Sapphics walked down the hall to a grand room at the end, his bedroom. Sapphics laid down on his large bed, bundling up in his blankets. He would grab his eye mask, put it on, as he drifted to sleep. Unfortunately, this sleep wouldn't last long. He was awoken by the sound of a fight breaking out. Sapphics trudged out of bed, picking up his staff from next to him on the bed and getting dressed. He walked out of his bedroom, hearing the fighting from the foyer. Sapphics' step echoed out in the empty halls as he slowly made down to the foyer. And when he got there, it was a sight to see. The guards were fighting hard against a crew of just 3. A strong man with an ashen beard, a short guy of green complexion, and a bulky hippo walking and talking like a human. They collectively overpowered Sapphics' armed guards. Sapphics simply watched the fight with morbid curiosity. Eventually, the fighting stopped. The band of 3 came coming out victorious. I applaud you. Not many can take down my gods, Sapphics snarkily stated, then began to approach. Man of much wealth, the rebirth of the ancient king Midas, John would call out. Yes, that would be me. Why must you break in like this? I pay those gods good money, you know. Gort would look over at Sapphics, seeming confused. This is who we're after, John? He looks like any other Ritchie elf. Sapphics looked offended at the comment, stepping a bit closer. Why, that wasn't nice, goblin. I have more power than you would ever have. And a low voice rose from behind Gorch. Jericho would gesture to Sapphics, while also folding his armcan back up. He claims to be the man, rich elf man. We're here to give you a great opportunity. Yeah, he's right. I'm John, Gorch, Jericho, John would say, pointing to the 2. I'm assembling a team of the strongest people in the universe. Seem to fit that bill. I'm terribly sorry, but I have a business to run. I can't just prance off with a bunch of willy-nilly warriors. Sapphic sighed, cocking his head. There's money in it, as John rolled his eyes. When do we start?